I received the message during dinner. My children were there, laughing about something that had happened at Ethan's work. Chloe was serving more rice onto the plates. Everything seemed normal, perfect even. Then my phone vibrated. Get out now. Don't tell them anything. Unknown number. My heart stopped for a second. I looked at Ethan, who was still telling his story. I looked at Chloe, who was smiling as she listened. Neither of them had noticed a thing. "Mom, are you okay?" Ethan asked. "Yes, my love. I just need to use the restroom," I lied. I don't know why I obeyed that strange message. Something deep inside me was screaming that I had to. I left the house through the back door, like a thief in my own home. It was dark outside, cold. I stood there in the yard, wondering what on earth I was doing. Then I saw the lights. Police cruisers, 3 cars, approaching slowly down the street. No sirens, no noise, like ghosts. My blood ran cold. I ran to the back fence, where I could see without being seen. The police officers got out of their cars. They walked toward my house, toward the front door. They knocked. I heard Ethan's voice from inside. "Who is it?" "Police. We need to speak with you." What happened next? My God. What I heard broke my soul into pieces. "Sir, we received a report. Your mother, Grace Miller, is a victim of family abuse. We have information that you are forcing her to sign documents, that you keep her isolated, that you control her money." Silence. Then Chloe's voice, nervous. "That's a lie. My mother-in-law is perfectly fine. She's right here, having dinner with us." "Could we speak with her?" Of course, Mom." "Mom?" I heard them searching for me throughout the house, shouting my name, worried, desperate. But I already knew the truth. Someone had made that report. Someone who knew what was happening in my house. Someone who had realized what I myself had been denying for months. I stayed there, hidden behind the bushes, watching my son lie to the police, watching my daughter-in-law act like an innocent victim. "Sir, we need you to come with us to the station to clarify this matter." "But my mother." "We will find her. For now, you're coming with us." I watched them take Ethan away in handcuffs. I watched Chloe cry at the door, screaming that it was all a misunderstanding. When the patrol cars left, I was alone in the yard, alone with the truth I had been avoiding for so long. My own son, my own flesh and blood, had been robbing me. I went back into the house through the back door. Chloe was in the living room, talking on the phone with someone. Her voice had changed completely. She was no longer the sweet, concerned daughter-in-law. "No, listen to me. The old woman got away. I don't know how, but she escaped. We have to act fast before she talks to someone." Old woman. She called me an old woman. I stood there, in the kitchen doorway, listening as she planned my own destruction. Yes, the papers are ready. We just need her signature, and that's it. The house, the bank account, everything. But now, with this police thing, my house, my money, everything I had worked for 50 years. Chloe hung up the phone and turned around. She saw me standing there. Her face went white as a sheet. "Grace, I didn't know you had come back." "I see you didn't." My voice came out calm, cold. Even I didn't recognize that tone. "You heard what you heard." "What did I hear, Chloe?" She stammered. She looked for excuses, lies, but I wasn't listening anymore. I was thinking about all the documents they had made me sign for my own protection. I was thinking about all the times they told me it was better for them to manage my money. I was thinking about all the times they made me feel like a burden, like a useless old woman. "Get out of my house, Chloe." "What?" I said, "Get out. Now." "You can't kick me out. Ethan and I live here. We have rights." "Rights?" That word burned inside me. "The only rights you have are the ones I gave you, and I am taking them away." I walked to my room and locked the door. I sat on the bed, and for the first time in months, I took a deep breath. Someone had saved me tonight. Someone had seen what I didn't want to see, but now that my eyes were open, I was never going to close them again. I didn't sleep that night. I heard Chloe pacing through the house like a caged animal, making calls, whispering, crying. At 3 a.m, someone knocked on the door, male voices. Arguments. I peeked through my bedroom window. 2 men I didn't know were talking to Chloe at the entrance. One of them held papers in his hand. I heard fragments of the conversation. Can't claim anything if she's not here. A 70-year-old woman can't just disappear like that. Again, that word. Old woman. The men left at dawn. Chloe did too. I saw her leave with a small suitcase, talking on the phone, nervous. When I was sure she was gone, I came out of my room. The house was silent. A silence I hadn't felt in years. I went to the kitchen and made myself a coffee. My coffee, in my favorite mug, without anyone telling me it was too late for caffeine or that I should watch my blood pressure. As I drank, I thought about everything that had happened. 5 years ago, when my husband Robert died, I was left alone in this house. Ethan insisted that he and Chloe move in with me to take care of me, so I wouldn't be alone. At first, it seemed like a blessing, having company, laughter in the house again, but slowly, things changed. First, it was small suggestions about managing my bank accounts, about signing papers for medical procedures. I signed everything because I trusted my son. He was my blood. Then came the restrictions. Don't go out alone because it's dangerous. Don't talk to the neighbors about our private matters. You don't need so much cash on hand. I became a prisoner in my own home. And worst of all, I started to believe the story. I started to think I really was a burden, that I really needed them to control everything, that I really was a useless old woman who didn't understand the modern world. But last night, hiding in my own garden, watching my son lie to the police, something broke inside me. Something was fixed. I finished my coffee and went to the study. I opened the drawer where I kept my important documents. It was empty. Obviously. Of course it was empty. But Robert was always a cautious man. He taught me to be one too. I went to the basement, to a corner no one ever looked at. Behind the old Christmas boxes, there was a small safe that Robert had installed years ago. Inside were the copies. Copies of everything. The original deed to the house, the certificates for the bank accounts. My real will not the one they made me sign last month. My heart pounded as I reviewed each paper. The house was still mine, legally mine. The documents I had signed were invalid because I had signed them under duress, without independent legal advice. Robert had taught me well. I grabbed the phone and dialed a number I had kept for years. The law firm of Carter and Associates. Benjamin had been Robert's friend, an honest man, one of the few left. I explained that I needed his help, that I believed I had been scammed. When I told him it was my son, there was a long silence on the other end. He asked me to come to his office that afternoon with all the documents I had. For the first time in months, I didn't feel lost. I didn't feel like a victim. I felt like what I really was. A 70-year-old woman who had worked her whole life, who had raised children, who had buried her husband, who had survived everything. A woman who was not going to be robbed by anyone, not even by her own blood. At 2 in the afternoon, someone knocked on the door. It was Ethan. They had released him, obviously. Without real evidence, without a formal complaint, they couldn't hold him. His voice sounded different, harder. He was no longer the worried son. I told him I had nothing to talk to him about. He insisted I was confused, that someone was filling my head with lies. I remained silent. He told me this was his house too, that he had a right to enter. I replied that this was my house, and he no longer lived here. Then I heard the sound of keys in the lock. Of course. He had a copy of the keys. The door opened. Ethan entered, followed by Chloe and the 2 men I had seen in the early morning. They told me they were notaries who had come to clarify a problem with some documents, that they needed me to sign some corrections. I looked at all of them. 4 people in my living room, treating me as if I were an idiot. I told them I wasn't going to sign anything. One of the notaries approached. He had the face of a shark. He explained that it was very simple, that they just needed me to confirm my signature on some transfer documents for my own safety. A woman my age shouldn't have the burden of managing properties. It was better for my son to handle everything. I stood up from the sofa. I looked at them one by one. I reminded them that a woman my age had built this house with her own hands, had worked 12 hours a day for 30 years to pay for it, had raised 3 children, buried her husband, and survived everything life had thrown at her. And now, a woman my age was going to tell them something very clearly, Get out of my house. The notary smiled. A cold smile. He told me he was afraid I no longer had the authority to kick them out, that according to those documents, I told him, according to those false documents that you fabricated. Ethan insisted they weren't false, that I had signed them. I reminded him that I had signed them under deceit, because I trusted him, because he was my son. He told me that for that very reason, I should continue to trust him. I asked him if trusting meant letting him rob me after I heard him plan how to do it. He said they weren't robbing me of anything. They were just protecting my assets. Protecting my assets from me. He told me I wasn't the same as before, that sometimes I got confused, that sometimes I forgot things. There it was. The lie they had been building for months. The only thing I had forgotten was who my son really was. I walked to the front door and opened it. I told them to leave, all of them. Ethan told me they weren't leaving, that this house was his too. I told him this house was mine, and that if they didn't leave, I would call the police. Chloe laughed bitterly. She asked if I was going to call the police like last night, that she had already seen they hadn't believed me. I asked her how she knew about last night. She turned pale. She had said too much. I understood immediately. She had made the report. She had called the police to incriminate Ethan, so that I would see, so that I would understand what was really happening. I told her yes, that I was crazy. Crazy with rage. And that crazy old women like me fight. No one moved for a moment. The four of them just stood there, as if they hadn't properly heard what I'd just said. Ethan was the first to react, approaching me with that condescending smile he had perfected over the last few months. He told me not to be ridiculous, that nobody was fighting anybody, that we were family. I replied that family doesn't steal. He insisted they weren't stealing from me. They were taking care of me. I asked if calling me a useless old woman behind my back was taking care of me. Chloe got nervous. Her eyes darted back and forth like a cornered animal. She said I didn't understand, that times had changed, that there were many scammers who took advantage of the elderly. I replied that she was right, that there were many scammers, and some of them were living in my own house. The shark-faced notary grew impatient. He told me we were wasting time, that either I signed those documents willingly, or they would have to seek other legal alternatives. I asked what alternatives. He explained that a woman my age, living alone, with episodes of mental confusion, could be considered for a psychiatric evaluation. For my own protection, of course. My blood ran cold in my veins. There was the real threat. If I didn't cooperate, they would declare me mentally incompetent. I asked about these episodes of mental confusion. He said my son had told them about my lapses, the forgetfulness, the times I got lost in the house, the conversations with people who didn't exist. I looked at Ethan, my own son, inventing lies about my mental health. I asked if he had told them that. He replied that it was the truth, that lately I had been very confused. He reminded me that just yesterday, I was talking to myself in the garden. I told him I wasn't talking to myself. I was listening to him betray me. He said, there I went again, the paranoia, the delusions. I fell silent for a moment. I understood their strategy. Everything I said in my defense they would use as evidence of my supposed madness, but I was no longer the scared woman from 2 days ago. I told them fine, that I understood perfectly, that I understood I needed legal protection. They all relaxed a little. Ethan told me he knew I would understand. I told him I understood perfectly, but that I needed legal protection from them. I walked to the phone and dialed Benjamin's number. He answered on the second ring. I told him I was at home and had unwanted visitors, that I needed him to come now. He asked if I was in danger. I told him I was in danger of being robbed. I hung up the phone. The four of them were looking at me with very different faces than 5 minutes ago. I told them they couldn't prevent me from getting legal advice. Ethan said of course not, but that it wasn't necessary, that we were family. I told him that families don't need fake notaries to rob each other. The shark-faced notary took offense, insisting he was a certified notary with credentials in order. I told him his credentials might be in order, but his intentions were not. Chloe went to Ethan and whispered something in his ear. He nodded. They told me they would wait outside until my lawyer arrived, so he could see they had nothing to hide. I told them not to go to the sidewalk, to get off my property completely. Ethan said fine, they were leaving, but this wasn't over. I replied, no, it wasn't over, that it would be settled legally. The four of them left my house, but they didn't leave. I saw them through the window, standing on the sidewalk, talking in pairs, making plans. I sat on my sofa and waited for Benjamin. For the first time in months, I was alone in my house without feeling scared, without feeling like I had to hide or ask for permission to move. This was my house, my space, my sanctuary, and no one was going to take it from me. Benjamin arrived 30 minutes later. A 60-year-old man, gray-haired, with the most honest eyes I had ever known. He asked if I was okay. I told him I was now. I told him everything, from the anonymous message to the conversation I had just had. I showed him the original documents I had found in Robert's safe. Benjamin reviewed each paper carefully. His face grew more serious with each page. He told me it was very serious, that they had tried to transfer the ownership of my house to Ethan's name, and also tried to make me sign a general power of attorney that would give them total control over my bank accounts. I asked if they could do that. He explained that not legally, not without my free and informed consent, and definitely not with those documents full of irregularities. He took off his glasses and looked at me directly. He asked if I wanted to press criminal charges against my son. The question hit me like a hammer blow to the chest. Criminal charges against Ethan? Against my own son? I told him I didn't know. He explained that it was understandable, that he was my son, but that what they tried to do was fraud, financial abuse of an elderly person, serious crimes. I asked what other options I had. He said we could protect my assets immediately, change all the locks, revoke any power of attorney I had signed before, and establish legal protective measures to prevent them from trying again. I asked what would happen if they tried to have me declared mentally incompetent. He assured me that with these documents and his testimony, it would be very difficult. Besides, we could request an independent psychiatric evaluation that would prove my full mental capacity. I was quiet, thinking. I asked him how much money was in my accounts. He checked some papers and told me that according to the latest statements he had there, approximately $250,000 between the savings account, certificates of deposit, and accumulated pension. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Ethan had told me we barely had enough for basic expenses. That's why he needed to manage everything. He had lied to me. I had enough money to live comfortably for the rest of my life. I felt as if a huge weight had been lifted from my shoulders. I was not poor. I was not a burden. I was not dependent on anyone. I asked him what I needed to do. He explained the plan. First, go to the bank tomorrow morning to change all the passwords and authorizations. Second, hire a locksmith to change all the locks on the house. Third, review my will to ensure it truly reflected my wishes. I asked what would happen next. He said that then we would wait to see what they did, and we would be prepared for anything. There was a knock on the door. It was Ethan again. He shouted from outside that my lawyer was gone, that we could talk peacefully. I shouted back that he hadn't left, that he was still here. Benjamin went to the door and told him that he was Mrs. Miller's lawyer, that she did not wish to speak with him at that moment. Ethan asked who he was to prevent him from speaking with his mother. Benjamin replied that he was her legal representative and that she had clearly expressed she did not wish to receive visitors. There was silence from the other side of the door. Then we heard footsteps walking away. Benjamin asked me if I was prepared, because this was just the beginning. I asked if they would be willing to go very far. I looked out the window. Ethan and Chloe were getting into their car, but they weren't leaving. They just stayed there, waiting. I told Benjamin that yes, I was prepared. But I had no idea what would come next. I had no idea how far they would be willing to go to get what they wanted. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. Every noise woke me. Every shadow that passed by the window put me on alert. At 3 a.m, I heard someone trying to open the back door. I got up without making a sound and peeked through my bedroom window. It was Ethan, my own son, trying to break into my house like a thief in the early morning. He tried his keys. Obviously, they didn't work. Benjamin had brought a locksmith that very afternoon, and we had changed all the locks. I saw him walk around the house, checking the windows. He tried to force the kitchen window. I grabbed the phone and dialed the emergency number. 911. What is your emergency? There's someone trying to break into my house. Do you know the person? I was silent for a second. Yes, it's my son. Your son? Does he live in the house? Number, not anymore. Ma'am, are you in immediate danger? I looked out the window again. Ethan had stopped trying the windows and was now talking on the phone to someone. I don't know. We're sending a patrol car immediately. I hung up and kept watch from the window. Ethan finished his call and left, as if he had known I had called the police. 5 minutes later, the patrol car arrived. The officers knocked on the door. I explained the situation. They took note of everything. They told me I could file a formal complaint if I wanted. Ma'am, do you have a safe place to stay tonight? This is my house. I'm not leaving. We understand, but maybe it would be more prudent. I am not leaving my house. They left, but they told me they would patrol the area during the night to keep an eye out. The next day, Benjamin arrived early. How was your night? I told him about Ethan's nocturnal visit. His face turned serious. Grace, this is escalating. It's not just about money anymore. Now they are willing to use intimidation. What do you suggest? That we speed everything up. Let's go to the bank right now. We went in Benjamin's car. The whole way, I had the feeling we were being followed. A silver car stayed 2 cars behind us from the moment we left my house. At the bank, the manager greeted us with a worried face. Mrs. Miller, it's so good to see you. Your son was here yesterday, very worried because you hadn't appeared. My son was here? Yes. He said you had an episode of confusion and had gotten lost. He wanted to check your accounts to see if you had made any strange transactions. I looked at Benjamin. Did you give him access to my information? No, of course not. Not without your direct authorization, but he seemed very distressed. Surely. Sir, Benjamin intervened, we need to change all the authorizations on this account. Revoke any access that has been previously granted, even for the son. Especially for the son. The manager looked confused, but he did as we asked. When we were done, my accounts were completely protected. Only I could access them. Is there anything else you need to know, Mrs. Miller? Yes. How many times has my son come to ask about my accounts? The manager checked his computer. In the last 6 months. About once a week. Once a week? Yes. Always asking the same thing. The balances, the transactions, if you had made any unusual movements. We left the bank in silence. Benjamin, how did Ethan know we were going to the bank today? He didn't know. It was probably a coincidence. But when we got to my house, Ethan was already there waiting for us. Mom, we need to talk. We already talked yesterday. No, yesterday you talked to strangers. Today you need to talk to your son. I got out of the car and walked to my door. Benjamin followed me. Mom, I know you went to the bank. I stopped. How do you know that? Because they called me. I'm worried about you. They called you? Who called you? The manager. He told me you had been there with a lawyer to change all the authorizations on your account. I looked at Benjamin. Something was wrong. The manager can't give you that information, Ethan. You no longer have access. Mom, I've been managing your finances for 2 years. Of course, I have contacts at the bank. Contacts who give you private information without my authorization. Information about my own mother, who is obviously being manipulated by strangers. Benjamin stepped forward. Sir, what you are describing is a serious violation of banking privacy. And who are you to meddle in family matters? I am your mother's lawyer. My mother doesn't need a lawyer. She needs family to take care of her. Your mother needs protection. From you. Ethan laughed, a humorless laugh. Protection from me? I'm the one who has been taking care of her for years. I'm the one who sacrificed to come live with her when she was left alone. You sacrificed? I repeated his words. Yes, Mom. I left my apartment, changed my life, all to take care of you. To rob me. To protect you from yourself. From myself? Mom, lately you've been very confused. You make strange decisions. You trust people you don't know. He pointed at Benjamin. Like him. Benjamin has been your father's friend for 20 years. He was Dad's friend. Dad is dead. Things change. I was quiet. His words hurt more than I wanted to admit. Ethan, I finally said, How much money is in my accounts? Why are you asking that? Just answer. Mom, the exact amount isn't important. What's important is that it's safe. Benjamin told me I have $250,000. Benjamin lied to you. He lied to me? Yes, to scare you, to make you think you have more money than you really do. So, how much do I have? You have enough to live comfortably if you manage it well. That's why you need me to help you. Show me the statements. Mom, I didn't bring the papers. Then let's go get them. There's no need for you to see those confusing numbers. They'll just worry you. Confusing numbers? Yes, Mom, you were never good with math. And free. I just stood there, listening to my son tell me I was too stupid to understand my own money. Benjamin, I said without taking my eyes off Ethan, you have a copy of my statements. Yes, Grace, show them to my son. Benjamin took the papers from his portfolio. Here are the most recent balances. Ethan looked at them. His face changed color. These numbers are wrong. They're not wrong, Benjamin said. They're certified by the bank. Mom, someone is tampering with your accounts. Yes, I said. Someone has been tampering with them for months. Someone who had access to them. I never. Ethan, where is the missing money? What missing money? 6 months ago, I had $300,000. Now I have $250,000. Where is the other $50,000? Silence. Ethan, where is my $50,000? Mom, that money was spent on expenses. Food, utilities, house maintenance. $50,000 in 6 months on basic expenses? Life is expensive, Mom. Benjamin, I said, how much does it cost to maintain a house like mine for 6 months? Approximately $8,000, including everything. I looked at Ethan. Where is the other $42,000? My son, my own flesh and blood, looked me in the eyes and lied one more time. I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. You're confused. At that moment, I understood something terrible. He wasn't going to stop. It didn't matter how much evidence I had. It didn't matter how many lawyers I brought. Ethan was going to keep lying, stealing, manipulating, until there was nothing left to steal. That night, after Ethan left with more lies on his lips, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea and made the most difficult decision of my life. I wasn't going to keep fighting with him. I wasn't going to keep trying to make him understand. I wasn't going to keep waiting for my son to remember who his mother was. I was going to act. The next day, I called Benjamin. I need you to come. I have a plan. What kind of plan? A plan to end this once and for all. Benjamin arrived an hour later. He looked worried. Grace, what are you thinking? I'm thinking my son won't stop until he has everything, so I'm going to give him exactly what he wants. I don't understand you. He wants my house. He wants my money. He wants to control my life. Yes. Well, he's going to be left with nothing. Benjamin took off his glasses and looked at me carefully. Grace, are you thinking of disinheriting him? I'm thinking of something more radical than that. I explained my plan. Benjamin listened in silence, nodding his head from time to time. It's legal, he finally said, but it's very drastic. The situation is drastic. Are you sure? I have never been more sure of anything in my life. All right, but we need to do everything correctly. No mistakes, because once we start, there's no going back. I don't want to go back. That afternoon we started working. Benjamin brought in an accountant, a property appraiser, and another lawyer specializing in real estate. We appraised the house. We reviewed all my accounts. We calculated the total value of my estate. The house was worth $400,000. With the money in the bank, I had a total net worth of nearly $700,000. It's a lot of money, Grace, Benjamin told me. Are you sure you want to do this? It's my money. It's my life. It's my decision. Yes, but... Benjamin, for 70 years I have worked to have what I have. For 5 years I have let others tell me what to do with what is mine. That's over. I understand, but think about the consequences. I have already thought. The only consequences that matter to me are getting my dignity back. That night, while Benjamin prepared the documents, I prepared my soul. I sat in the living room where I had raised my children, where I had celebrated birthdays, Christmases, graduations, where I had cried when Robert died. This house held 50 years of memories, 50 years of life. But it also held the last 5 years of lies, humiliation, and betrayal. And I couldn't live with that anymore. The next day, Ethan showed up again, as if he had a radar for knowing when I was making important decisions. "Mom, we need to talk." "We have nothing left to talk about, Ethan." "Yes, we do. I came to apologize." That surprised me. "Apologize?" "Yes. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday. You're right. I've been too controlling. I've been making decisions without consulting you. I was quiet, waiting. I want you to know that everything I've done has been out of love, because I worry about you." "Out of love?" "Yes, Mom, out of love." "Is stealing $50,000 love?" "I didn't steal anything. I used that money to improve the house, to pay for your medical expenses, to—" "For what, Ethan?" "To take care of you." "Show me the receipts." "What receipts?" "The receipts for the medical expenses, the receipts for the house improvements, the receipts for all that money you spent taking care of me." Silence. "Mom, I didn't keep all the receipts." "You didn't keep receipts for $50,000? "Some got lost." "Ethan, where is my money?" "I already explained." "You didn't explain anything. You told me lies." He came closer to me. He put his hands on my shoulders. "Mom, I'm worried about you. I think you should see a doctor." "A doctor?" "Yes, a specialist. Someone who can help you with the confusion." "What confusion?" "Mom, lately you say things that don't make sense. You accuse your own family of terrible things. You hide from us. You talk to strange lawyers. Benjamin isn't strange. You've known him since you were a child. He was different before. Now he's being used to manipulate you." "Who is manipulating me?" "I don't know. Someone who wants to take advantage of you. Someone who is filling your head with crazy ideas." I broke free from his hands. "Crazy ideas like I have a right to my own money? Crazy ideas like your family wants to rob you? Ethan, do you think I'm crazy?" "I think you're confused. I think you need help." "What kind of help?" "Professional help, maybe. Maybe you need to be in a place where they can take better care of you." There it was, the final threat. If I didn't cooperate, they were going to have me committed. A place like where? Like a residence. A nursing home. "It's not a nursing home, Mom. It's a specialized care facility." "And who is going to decide I need to be there?" "The doctors. And the family." "You?" "If necessary, yes." I stood there, looking at my son. The baby I had carried for 9 months. The child I had taught to walk, to talk, to read. The young man I had sent to college. The man I had celebrated when he got married. And now he was threatening to take away my freedom. "Ethan," I said very slowly, "get out of my house." "Mom, get out, now. I'm not leaving until we talk like adults." Adults don't threaten their mothers with being committed. "I'm not threatening you. I'm offering you help. Your help already cost me $50,000. I don't need any more. Mom, if you don't accept help voluntarily, we will have to look for other options." "We?" "Chloe and I. And the doctor? We've already spoken." "You've already spoken with a doctor?" "We spoke with a specialist in geriatrics. We explained your situation." "What situation?" "The episodes of confusion, the delusions of persecution, the paranoia towards the family, without me being present. It was a preliminary consultation." "And what did that doctor say?" "He said it was worrying, that you needed an urgent evaluation." I sat down on the sofa. My legs wouldn't support me. "You have it all planned out." "We just want what's best for you." "Where? Where what? Where are you going to commit me?" "There's a very nice place about an hour from here. It's called Hope Villa. They have gardens, activities, very good medical care." "You've already been to see it?" "We went to see it, just in case." "How much does it cost?" "Mom, don't worry about that." "How much does it cost?" "Ethan, $5,000 a month." $5,000 a month. "Yes, but it's worth it. They'll take very good care of you." "And who is going to pay those $5,000 a month?" "You, of course." And well, we'd have to use part of your savings. My savings? Yes. And my house? The house? Well, if you're in the residence, you won't need it. So what happens to my house? We could sell it. To pay for the expenses of your care. There was the complete plan. Commit me. Sell my house. Take all my money under the pretext of paying for my care. And I wouldn't be able to do anything because I would be declared mentally incompetent. When? When what? When are you planning to do all this? Mom, we haven't decided anything definite. We're just exploring options. Lies. It's not a lie. It's responsible planning. Responsible planning is planning my life without consulting me. We're consulting you now. You're not consulting me. You're informing me. Mom, please, try to understand. We just want to take care of you. I got up from the sofa. Ethan, I understand everything perfectly. You do? Yes. I understand that I have to act fast. Act how? You'll see. What does that mean? It means the time for conversations is over. Mom, don't do anything reckless. Reckless like defending myself from my own son? Reckless like making important decisions without thinking them through. I have thought them through very well, Ethan. For months. What decisions? You'll find out. I walked to the door and opened it. Now get out of my house. And don't come back until I invite you. Mom. Get out. He left, but before he went, he turned back to me. Mom, I hope you reconsider. For your own good. I closed the door and leaned against it. For my own good. Everything they had done had been for my own good. But the good for me was over. Now came the hard part. The part that was going to hurt me more than them. But it was the only way to win. The next day, Benjamin arrived with all the documents ready. I had never been more sure of a decision in my life. Each signature hurt, but it also liberated me. Everything would be ready in a week, maybe less. That afternoon, the phone rang. An unknown number. Mrs. Miller? This is Dr. Evans from the Geriatric Evaluation Center. Your son requested a home evaluation for you. My veins ran cold. A home evaluation. My family has reported episodes of confusion, paranoia, erratic behavior. According to them, I have been accusing my family of stealing from me. I changed the locks for no reason. I hired lawyers to fight against my own family. I told him that all of that was true, but not because I was confused. The doctor insisted it was important to evaluate me to determine if I could continue to live alone safely. If I refused, my family could request a court order. I hung up the phone and immediately called Benjamin. They had already started. We didn't have 3 days as we had planned. I needed him to finish the paperwork the next day. I didn't sleep at all that night. At 6 in the morning, the doorbell rang. It was Ethan, accompanied by Chloe and a man in a white coat. Good morning, Mom. I brought Dr. Evans. I wasn't going to talk to any doctor. Ethan insisted it was for my own good, but my own good was for me to decide. The doctor introduced himself, said they just wanted to make sure I was okay. I replied that I was perfectly fine, that my family was worried about my money, not my health. See, there are the accusations again, Ethan said to the doctor. The doctor wanted to talk in private, but I refused. I didn't trust him because he came with them. When I asked who was paying his fee, he got uncomfortable. It was the family's insurance, the same one my son managed. Chloe asked me not to make things more difficult. I asked, more difficult for whom? For everyone, she said. For me, it was very easy. I didn't want to be evaluated. I didn't need to be evaluated. Ethan threatened to seek legal help, a court order to have me evaluated. The doctor explained that in cases where there were legitimate family concerns, the court could order a mandatory evaluation. Then they would determine if I could continue to live independently. I was quiet for a moment. Then I told them they were right. They were all surprised. Yes, I needed specialized care, but not the kind they were thinking of. What kind of care, Mom? Legal care. Legal protection. From you. I explained that I already knew their whole plan. The psychiatric evaluation, the declaration of incompetence, the commitment, the sale of my house. Ethan said I was paranoid, but I was informed. For the first time in months, I was completely clear about what I had to do. Ethan came closer and asked me not to be ridiculous. I responded with direct questions. Was it ridiculous that they had stolen $50,000 from me? Was it ridiculous that they had already chosen the nursing home? Was it ridiculous that they had already calculated how much they would make by selling my house? We did everything thinking of your well-being, he lied. I asked if it was my well-being or theirs. I turned to Dr. Evans. I asked if he knew these people were robbing me. He asked for evidence. I told him I had all I needed. My son had spent $50,000 without my authorization. They had forged documents. They had planned to commit me without my consent. The doctor looked at Ethan, who denied everything. He said I was confused. I laughed bitterly. I asked the doctor if he knew what confused me the most. That my own son thought I was an idiot. Ethan insisted they didn't think I was an idiot, that they were treating me with care because they loved me. I asked if stealing was love, if lying was love, if betrayal was love. They denied everything. I told them then that we had very different definitions of what love was. I walked to the door and opened it. I told the doctor he could leave, that I was not going to be evaluated. Ethan warned me that this wasn't over. I replied that no, it wasn't over, that I had already made my decision. Before leaving, Ethan turned. He hoped I would reconsider before it was too late. I told him it was already too late for regrets. I closed the door and called Benjamin. I told him he had to finish everything that day. I had no more time. Tomorrow would be too late. I sat on my sofa. In a few hours, it would all be over. Ethan was going to understand that he had completely underestimated his mother. My whole life, I had been a woman who solved problems in silence. When Robert lost his job, I didn't make a drama. I found extra work. When the children got sick, I didn't panic. I found solutions. When Robert died, I didn't fall apart. I moved on. Now I had the biggest problem of my life. My own son trying to steal everything I had worked for 70 years, and I was going to solve it the same way I had solved everything else. Silently, with determination, and without fear of the consequences. That afternoon, Benjamin returned with more papers. Everything was proceeding according to plan. The appraisers had finished their work. The accountants had reviewed all the accounts. The lawyers had prepared all the documents. Are you completely sure about this, Grace? Benjamin, I have been sure since the moment I heard my son plan how to rob me. But the consequences? The consequences of doing nothing are worse. Once we sign these last documents, there's no going back. How many times are you going to ask me the same thing? I don't want to go back. I signed the last papers. My hands trembled a little, not from fear, but from anticipation. For months, I had felt like a victim. For months, I had allowed others to control my life, but that was over. Now it was my turn to take control. That night, for the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. I knew that the next day my life would change forever. I knew that Ethan and Chloe would receive the biggest surprise of their lives, and I knew that, no matter what happened next, I would have regained the most important thing, my dignity. The next day, I woke up with a strange calm. It was as if I had been carrying a huge weight for months and had finally put it down. I knew that in a few hours, everything would change forever. Benjamin arrived at 9 in the morning with the last set of documents. His face reflected a mixture of respect and concern. I don't think I've ever seen a 70-year-old woman make such a radical decision. The last papers are ready, he told me. I just need your final signature and everything will be set in motion. How long do we have before it's official? 48 hours, maximum. Once I file these documents in court, it can't be stopped. Perfect. I signed without hesitation. My signature looked firm, decided. No trembling, no doubts. It was the signature of a woman who knew exactly what she was doing. Grace, have you thought about how you're going to tell them? I'm not going to tell them anything. They'll find out on their own. Are you sure that's the best way? Benjamin, they didn't tell me anything when they planned to rob me. I'm not going to tell them anything when I defend myself. After Benjamin left, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of coffee and thought about everything that had happened. 5 years ago, when Robert died, I was a vulnerable widow who needed help, or at least, that's what I thought. But now I realized I had never been vulnerable. What I had been was trusting. I had trusted my son because he was my blood. I had trusted that family always protects family. How wrong I was. Robert always told me that blood doesn't guarantee loyalty, that you have to earn respect, even from your children. I thought he was being too harsh, too distrustful. Now I understood he was just being realistic. At 2 in the afternoon, a surprise arrived. Someone knocked on the door, and it was Susan, my next-door neighbor. A woman my age who had always been very discreet, very respectful. "Grace, I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all, Susan. Come in. I need to talk to you about something important." She looked nervous, as if she didn't know how to begin. "What is it?" "It's about your son." My muscles tensed. "What about Ethan?" "He came to my house yesterday. He asked me strange questions about you." "What kind of questions?" "If I had seen you behaving strangely, if you talked to yourself, if you seemed confused when you went out into the garden." "And what did you tell him?" "I told him the truth, that I always see you perfectly fine, that you're the most clear-headed woman I know." "How did he react?" "He got upset. He told me you had been making up stories about the family, that maybe I hadn't noticed your confusion because I only saw you from time to time." Susan moved closer to me. "Grace, your son is causing you trouble." For the first time in months, someone was asking me directly if I needed help. Someone who had no interest in my money, no hidden agenda. "Yes, Susan, he's causing me a lot of trouble." "What kind of trouble?" I told her everything, from the missing money to the plans to have me committed. Susan listened in silence, shaking her head with indignation. "That boy always seemed odd to me," she finally said. "Ever since he was a kid. Too interested in material things. Do you remember?" "Of course I remember. When he was 10, he sold his younger brother's bicycle without permission. Robert had to go get it back and grounded him for a month. I didn't remember that incident. Or maybe I hadn't wanted to remember. And now what are you going to do?" "I've already taken action, but I can't tell you the details yet. Do you need help? Do you need a place to stay if things get ugly?" "Thank you, Susan, but I can handle this." "Are you sure? Completely sure?" After Susan left, I thought about her offer. It was comforting to know I had allies, that I wasn't completely alone in this. But it also confirmed something important. If Ethan was visiting neighbors to look for evidence of my supposed mental confusion, it meant the plan to have me committed was more advanced than I thought. I had no time to lose. That night, I called Benjamin. "Have you filed the documents yet?" "I'm filing them first thing in the morning." "Can't they be filed today?" "Grace, the court is already closed. But early tomorrow, I promise." "Okay, but do it first thing. Did something happen?" "Ethan is visiting the neighbors. He's building a case to have me declared mentally incompetent." "What kind of questions is he asking?" "If they see me confused, if I talk to myself, if I behave strangely." "And what are they telling him?" Susan told him the truth, that I'm perfectly fine. "That's good." "Yes, but I'm worried he's looking for other neighbors, people who maybe don't know me as well." "Grace, even if he found someone who said something negative, it's not enough for a declaration of incompetence. He needs medical evidence. He already has a doctor willing to evaluate me. A doctor who hasn't even examined you. A doctor he is paying." "Exactly. That's why he won't have credibility in court." "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. But anyway, tomorrow we file everything, and it won't matter what he does." I hung up the phone and prepared for what could be my last quiet night in a long time. The next day, Benjamin kept his promise. At 8 in the morning, he called to confirm that all the documents had been officially filed. "It's done, Grace. There's no turning back now." "Perfect. When will they find out?" "This afternoon. Maybe tomorrow morning." "How will they find out?" "They will receive official notifications, by certified mail and by courier." "And then?" "Then they will have to decide what to do." At 3 in the afternoon, I was in the garden watering the plants when I saw the courier truck arrive. The driver knocked on the door, delivered a large envelope, and left. 30 minutes later, another courier arrived, and then another. From my window, I could see the envelopes piling up at the door of the house next door, where Ethan and Chloe were now temporarily living while they resolved my situation. At 5 in the afternoon, I saw Ethan's car arrive. He got out running, picked up all the envelopes, and went into the house. 15 minutes later, he came out running again, got in his car, and drove off at high speed. An hour later, he returned with Chloe and another man I didn't recognize. Maybe a lawyer. I saw them arguing at the entrance for several minutes. They were making exaggerated gestures, pointing towards my house, looking very agitated. Finally, the three of them walked to my door. They knocked loudly. "Mom, open the door, we need to talk." "We have nothing to talk about." "Yes, we do. We received some legal documents we don't understand. I understand them just fine." "Mom, please. We just want to clear up a confusion." "There is no confusion. According to these papers, you are doing something very drastic." "I am doing something very necessary." "Mom, please open the door. We can resolve this." "It's already resolved." I heard whispers from the other side, someone talking on the phone, nervous voices. "Mom, we brought a lawyer. He says we can still stop this if you act fast." "I don't want to stop anything." "Mom, do you understand what you are doing?" "I understand perfectly." "Do you understand the consequences?" "I understand them and I accept them." More whispers, more phone calls. "Mom, this lawyer says you can change your mind until noon tomorrow." "I'm not going to change my mind." "You won't even listen to our reasons?" "I've listened to your reasons for 5 years." "Mom, please, we are begging you." "Now you're begging me?" "Yes, we are begging you to reconsider." "Like I begged you not to rob me?" Silence. "Like I begged you to respect me?" More silence. "Like I begged you to treat me like your mother and not like an enemy." "Mom, it's too late for begging now." I heard them walk away from the door, but they didn't leave. They stayed in the garden, talking in low voices with the lawyer. I peeked through the window and saw them making more calls. They looked desperate, and they had every reason to be desperate, because what they had just discovered was going to change their lives forever, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. That night they didn't leave. I saw them through the window, camped out in the garden like soldiers in enemy territory. Ethan paced back and forth talking on the phone. Chloe sat on the steps crying. The lawyer reviewed papers with a flashlight. At 11 o'clock at night, they knocked on the door again. Ethan's voice sounded different. It was no longer authoritarian or condescending. It sounded scared. They told me they had spoken with 3 different lawyers, and all of them had confirmed that what I was doing was completely legal, that I had every right. Of course, it was legal. That's why I had done it. Now they wanted to understand why I had gone to such an extreme. They offered to return all the money, to apologize, to respect my house, to cancel the commitment plans. They promised we could start over, that we could resolve everything as a family. I told them it was too late to want all those things, that I had wanted them 5 years ago, a year ago, a month ago. But when I wanted them, they had ignored me, lied to me, robbed me. Now it couldn't be fixed because I no longer trusted them, no longer respected them, and no longer loved them as I had before. Ethan insisted we were family. I replied that family doesn't steal, that they had 5 years to change, and they didn't because they understood perfectly well what they were doing. They just didn't care. They stayed outside until very late, whispering, making calls, planning strategies that would be of no use to them anymore. The next day, Benjamin arrived early, asking how I felt. "Calm," I told him. He asked me one last time if I wanted to change my mind, that I still had until noon. I reminded him that it was my decision and that the consequences of doing nothing would also be permanent. At 10 in the morning, a car I didn't recognize arrived. 2 men in suits got out, walked to the house next door where Ethan and Chloe were, and knocked on the door. I saw them talk for several minutes. One of the men had a portfolio full of documents. After half an hour, the men left. Ethan and Chloe stood at the entrance, looking at the papers they had been given. Chloe sat on the floor and started crying again. Ethan crumpled the papers and threw them on the ground, but then picked them up and took them inside. At 11:30, they came to my door one last time. They didn't knock loudly like before. It was a soft, almost timid knock. Ethan told me they had just received the final notification, that in 30 minutes, everything would be official and there would be no way to stop it. He begged me to reconsider, to think of all the Christmases we had spent together, of all the happy moments we had shared as a family. I replied that I had thought about all of that for 5 years while they were robbing me, that I had remembered every hug I had given him as a child while he planned how to take my house, that I had thought about all the love I had given him while he treated me like a stupid old woman. He asked me where he was going to live after this. I told him that was no longer my problem. He asked me how he was going to survive. I told him I had survived 70 years without his help, that I could survive the rest of my life the same way. He asked if I could ever forgive him. I was quiet for a long moment. Then I told him that maybe with time I could forgive him, but that I could never forget, and that some things, once broken, cannot be repaired. At exactly 12 noon, my phone rang. It was Benjamin. "It's done, Grace. It's official. It can't be changed now. It can't be changed." I hung up the phone and sat on my sofa. For 5 years I had been a victim. For 5 years I had allowed others to control my life, my money, my decisions. I had lived in fear, in humiliation, with the constant feeling that I was a burden to my own family. But that was over. What I had just done hurt me more than I had imagined. It was like tearing out a piece of my heart, but it had also given me something I hadn't felt in years: control over my own life. During the afternoon, I saw constant movement in the house next door. Cars arriving and leaving, people coming and going, boxes being taken out, suitcases being loaded. At 5 in the afternoon, Ethan and Chloe loaded their things into the car. Before leaving, Ethan walked to my door one last time. He didn't knock. He just stood there for several minutes. I was watching from the window. Our eyes met. I saw something in his face I hadn't seen in years. It was a mixture of sadness, respect, and perhaps a little admiration. He had completely underestimated his mother. He had thought I was a weak old woman who would let herself be robbed without a fight. He had discovered I was a strong woman who was willing to sacrifice everything to regain her dignity. He got in the car, and they drove away. I stayed in my house, alone for the first time in 5 years. But this time, the loneliness felt different. It wasn't the loneliness of abandonment or fear. It was the loneliness of freedom. That night, I made myself a special dinner. I ate at my table, with my favorite dishes, without anyone telling me it was too late to eat or that I should watch my diet. I had a glass of wine without anyone reminding me I shouldn't mix alcohol with my medication. It was my house, my food, my life, and for the first time in years, it was completely mine. The next day, Susan came to visit me. She had seen all the movement, the cars, the boxes. She asked if I was okay. I told her I was better than okay. I told her I was finally free. She asked me what had happened exactly. I explained that I had made a very difficult but very necessary decision, that I had done something that had hurt me a lot but had given me back control of my life. Susan looked at me with a mixture of curiosity and admiration. She told me that for months she had noticed something wasn't right, that I seemed sad, scared, as if I were hiding something, but that now I looked different. I looked like the Grace she had known years ago, before Robert died. Strong, determined, free. I told her I had recovered something I thought I had lost forever: my self-respect. That afternoon I received a call from an unknown number. It was Ethan. His voice sounded tired, defeated. He told me he understood why I had done what I did, that he had had time to think and realize they had crossed lines they should never have crossed. He apologized, not because he expected me to change my mind, but because he needed me to know he was sorry. I told him I appreciated his apology, but that some things are beyond forgiveness. That what they had done had not just been stealing money or lying. They had stolen my dignity, my autonomy, my right to be treated as a complete human being. He asked if we could ever have some kind of relationship again. I told him I didn't know. That maybe with time, maybe if he proved with actions and not just words that he had truly changed. But that depended on him, not on me. He said he understood, that he respected my decision, and that he hoped I would be happy. I hung up the phone and thought. For 70 years, I had put the needs of others before my own. I had been a good wife, a good mother, a good neighbor. Always giving, always sacrificing, always putting family first. But it was time to put myself first. And that was exactly what I had done. 3 weeks passed after Ethan and Chloe left. 3 weeks of silence, of peace, of waking up every morning without fear that someone would go through my things or control my decisions. 3 weeks of remembering who I had been before, becoming a victim of my own family. During those days, many people came to visit me. Benjamin would stop by regularly to make sure I was okay. Susan would bring coffee in the afternoons, and we would sit in the garden and talk. Other neighbors who for years had been mere acquaintances came by to ask how I was doing. It was strange to discover I had more support than I had imagined. For 5 years I had felt completely alone, but it turned out that the loneliness had been artificially constructed by those who wanted to isolate me to better control me. One Tuesday morning, I received an unexpected visit. It was Sarah, Ethan's younger sister, whom I hadn't seen in over 2 years. She arrived with red eyes from crying and trembling hands. "Mom, I need to talk to you." "Come in, honey." She sat on the sofa where she had so often played as a child. She looked lost, confused, as if the world she knew had suddenly changed. "Mom, Ethan told me what happened." "What exactly did he tell you?" "He said you made a very drastic decision, that you did something that left them with nothing." "Did he tell you why I made that decision?" "He said you had differences over the management of your finances." "Differences? Is that what he called theft?" Sarah turned pale. "Theft!" I told her everything, from the anonymous message that saved me that night to the plans to have me committed to take over my entire estate. I showed her the documents that proved the missing money, the forged signatures, the lies built up over years. "Mom, I didn't know any of this." "You never suspected?" "I thought it was normal for Ethan to help you with your finances. I thought it was the right thing to do after Dad died." "Helping is not the same as stealing. What exactly did you do?" I explained my decision. Her face went through all possible emotions: surprise, disbelief, admiration, sadness. "Mom, that's incredible." "Incredibly good or incredibly bad?" "Incredibly brave." She was quiet for a long moment. "Do you know what hurts the most?" "What?" "That for 2 years I didn't come to visit you because Ethan told me you were very depressed, that you didn't want to see anyone, that it was better to leave you alone." "He told you that?" "Yes. He told me you had become very antisocial after Dad's death. They isolated me on purpose, Sarah, so no one would notice what they were doing." "Can you forgive me for not coming?" "You have nothing to be forgiven for. They lied to you, too. Can you forgive Ethan?" The question everyone was asking me. The question I asked myself every night. "I don't know, honey. Forgiveness is something that is built over time, and with actions, not with words." "What's going to happen now?" "Now I'm going to live." "How?" "The way I should have always lived. Free." Sarah stayed with me all afternoon. We cooked together, something we hadn't done in years. She helped me rearrange some furniture. She told me about her work, her plans, her dreams. It was like getting back a daughter I had lost without realizing it. When she left, she hugged me tightly. "Mom, I'm proud of you." "Why?" "For defending yourself, for not letting them defeat you. I learned something important, Sarah." "What?" "That respect is not begged for, it is demanded." That night, alone in my house, I thought about everything that had happened. I had paid a very high price to regain my freedom. I had lost a son. I had broken a family. I had caused pain to people who, despite everything, were still my blood. But I had also gained something invaluable: my dignity. For 70 years I had worked, fought, sacrificed, built. I had raised children. I had buried my husband. I had survived losses, illnesses, disappointments. I had been strong when others needed me to be strong. And when I finally needed that strength for myself, I found it. I found it the exact moment I decided I would rather lose everything than continue to be treated without respect. I found it when I understood that some battles must be fought, even if they hurt. I found it when I stopped being a victim and became the protagonist of my own life. The next day, as I was watering the plants in my garden, I saw a familiar car park in front of my house. It was Ethan. He got out alone, without Chloe, without lawyers, without hidden plans. He walked towards me slowly, with empty hands, with his head down. "Mom, can I talk to you?" It's your house too. Number, it's not my house anymore. I understand that now. He stood several feet away, as if he didn't dare to get any closer. I came to tell you something. I'm listening. I came to tell you that you were right. About what? About everything. About defending yourself. About not trusting me. About doing what you did. And I came to tell you that I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the son I should have been from the beginning. How? I don't know yet, but I'm going to find a way. Ethan, actions speak louder than words. I know. That's why I'm not going to ask for your forgiveness with words. How are you going to ask for my forgiveness? With actions? For as long as it takes. He was quiet for a moment. Can I ask you something? Ask. How did you find the courage to do what you did? It wasn't courage, Ethan. It was necessity. Necessity? The need to remember who I am. And who are you? I am Grace Miller. I am 70 years old. I have worked my whole life. I have loved. I have lost. I have survived. And I will not allow anyone, not even my own son, to take away the dignity it took me 70 years to build. Ethan nodded slowly. Will you ever be able to forgive me? Forgiveness is earned, Ethan. And it's earned with time, with respect, with consistent actions. Will you give me that chance? I will give you the chance to show who you really are. Thank you. He left without another word. No empty promises, no dramatic pleas. Just with the understanding that he would have to rebuild trust from scratch. That night, I sat on my porch watching the sunset. My house was silent. But it was a chosen silence, not an imposed one. My money was safe in accounts that only I controlled. My future was in my hands, not in the hands of others. I had learned something fundamental, that it's never too late to defend yourself. That age is no excuse to accept mistreatment. That real love includes respect, and without respect, love becomes another form of abuse. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you have ever felt anything similar, know that you are not alone. Know that you have more strength than you imagine. And know that I would rather sleep under the stars than live in a house without dignity. Because in the end, the only thing we truly own is the respect we have for ourselves. And that, no one can take from us, unless we let them.